Paul, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watch collecting and horology. Today, we're going to be looking at a collection of one of our audience members. His online handle is ORS ORS, ORS space ORS, and his name is Oles. And he sent me some nice pictures of his collection, and he also sent me some of his thoughts about the kinds of watches he wants to get. And so we're going to look at the watches he has and look at the watches he's going to get. And I'll give you some of my thoughts on his collection and some of my advice on his plans. So let's look at Oles' watch collection. So the first watch in Oles' collection that he mentions is the Seiko SNK809 37 millimeter. It's an aviator style Seiko 5, and the Seiko 5 is a watch family with a deep and wide heritage based on the Seiko 5 movement, which is over 20 years old. And one of the interesting quirks about it is that it's not a manual wind. You have to literally shake it to get it started and wear it to keep it running. It has a relatively short power reserve. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's designed to be worn. It's designed to be worn as your daily wear. And matter of fact, literally designed to be worn as a daily wear because it functions best when it's constantly moving because there's no way for you to wind it from the stem. But design-wise, traditional aviator layout, you know, you've got hour on the inner track, hour hand pointing to the inner track, minute hand on the outer track, minute hand pointing to the outer track. Great legibility. You could tell it's an aviator style design as opposed to maybe an alternate on the military field watch, which usually has a 13 to 24 on the inner track so that you can do military time or universal time, depending on how you look at it. But this also has the pyramid, the triangle, at 12, so you know where the top of the watch is at a glance, which is useful if you're in an aircraft and you may not be sitting vertically. So this is a really great watch for a beginning collector. I like to say beginning because starter watches, I don't think there really is. I've said that many times. For example, there are people who have collections with watches in it that range upwards of $50,000. And they've got Seikos in their collection. So to call a watch a starter, I don't think is fair to you or the watch. But I do say that, yeah, you know, you could be a beginner collector and then you get more experienced and you change your tastes and things along those lines. But you could keep coming back to a classic piece like this Seiko 5 aviator style day date and not lose anything. You know, it's a great, it would be, for example, a great beater watch or daily wear to wear if your other watch is, say, a Rolex OP or, you know, something else that you'd be loath to scratch up. Now, the second watch is an Orient Kamasu. All right. Now, the Orient Kamasu is notable in that it is, well, two things. Orient's owned by Seiko, and the Kamasu at least has a hacking, winding, stem crown winding mechanism. So in some ways, Orient offers a lot of value. In some ways, different value. I don't know if you could say it's better value because Seiko also makes inexpensive diving watches, which the Kamasu is. And one of the nice things about this watch is that he has it on a Jubilee aftermarket, a Jubilee style aftermarket bracelet made by Strap Code. And you know, having an interesting strap, and anyone who's watched this channel for any length of time knows I'm big on changing straps around and enjoying the variety straps can provide the look of a watch. And Orient is more like Chevrolet to Buick than it is Tudor to Rolex in my mind. Orient is owned by Seiko, but they've always had their own design flavor. They've always had their own design language. I mean, a lot of people like to point out the Bambino as a good beginner collecting watch. Inexpensive, good quality, elegant, good suit watch, good daily wear, casual. I don't know about jeans, but then again, you know, a watch can't be everything. Even watches they say are for everything don't look perfect in every situation. Now, the Kamasu is a nice daily wear. It's rugged, it's highly legible, has good lume. You could use the timing bezel for cooking, and adding that aftermarket Jubilee style bracelet really helps make it pop, look a little different. Then he has a Timex Marlin, which I would argue is the alternative to the Orient Bambino today, because Timex, once upon a time, haha, no pun intended, but in the old-timey days, Timex was an American company who specialized in rugged watches. You know, takes a licking and keeps on ticking. And the reason you don't see many people collect old Timex is because they were built to be robust. They weren't built to be serviced. You're supposed to throw them away when they were broken. They weren't built to be elegant. The movements, the watches were made to have nice cases and nice faces. But there's a reason you could strap it to the, you know, propeller of a outboard motor and it still runs, because there were no jewels in that watch at all. It was all very, very heavy duty metal pins, very heavy duty metal pivot points. It was very robustly made, and it showed, you know, it was a very solid, heavy duty watch that everybody could trust. But there was very little collector's value in it because it couldn't be serviced. Now, some of the older watches now are collected because of their age and the historical provenance of the watch. But modern Timex is owned by Citizen, I believe. And these watches now have automatic movements in them. In this case, it's a manual wind. This is the, let's see what sizes he got here. It's the 34, the reissue blackout. Yeah, so it's a manual wind mechanical piece. Beautifully elegant. I like those Art Deco numbers. They remind me of the clocks in Metropolis. Really sharp, beautiful, elegant, casual business or dress watch. You put a NATO strap on it, you could probably throw it on with some jeans. You know, again, a pitch for playing with straps. So the Marlin, yeah, see, so again, good assortment so far. You've got the, you know, the aviator watch, field watch, knocking around daily wear watch. You've got the diving watch, robust. You've got a nice suit casual watch. Where are we going now? Ah, you do have a field watch. So you've got an aviator and a field, so that's really nicely rounded out. The Hamilton Khaki Field Automatic in 38. That's right, because I remember it now, because when I reviewed these, looking at the various pieces. And this one's got the silver dial, I would call it. It's really hard to call it a white dial. And again, yeah, see, there you go. So you've got the inner track with the 13 to 24 loomed hands, but classy, like the officer's field design. You know, just a really clean, sharp piece. And this is another casual daily wear that if you know, put it on an alligator, you can wear it with a suit. And it's currently on a really nice leather. But you put it, say, for example, on a NATO, and you can get away with just about any configuration of clothing with the right strap choice. And so, again, he's got a great, Oles got a great aviator, field watch, daily wear, sports watch, dress watch. Oles got a really good collection he's rolling along here. And then he's got the Casio Oak, the Casio Oak G-Shock, the GA model. And yeah, again, people also know me. I like mechanicals, but I don't see anything problem with quartz watches. I tend to like watches with hands, and this ticks all the boxes. It's rugged, it's fun, it's attractive analog hands that can do a lot of different things based upon how you push the buttons. So it's a really nice piece, and I think the color is nice. This like off gray or whatever color that is, it's really interesting color. It's got a lot of wrist presence, fun, sporty watch. Nothing but net on this collection. I mean, for a lot of people, that could be it in reality. Oh, and he mentions that he picked up this Omega Century. Almost forgot to mention that one. And the Omega Century is a nice piece because it's a manual wind, small seconds, really gorgeous. And so that ticks the box of the vintage suit. So he's got two business casual watches, and then pulls out this Century as the big guns for dress, because gorgeous. And of course you can wear it business casual as well, because it's just a clean classic design. It's just really, really beautiful piece. And it doesn't hurt to have a gold piece in your collection. I'm not a big gold fan myself, but I do appreciate a nice gold watch. He says he's in the process of buying a vintage 1964 Breitling Top Time, reference 2003. And that's going to be a nice piece in your collection, my friend. Now, it says here that you're interested in taking on a design collection philosophy, and you wanted to develop a theme. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I have a kind of a collecting theme in my set where I try not to duplicate styles. Like, for example, I'm on the fence right now selling my IWC wristwatch check. I'm wearing my IWC Pilot Chrono. But I'm on the fence now selling this because I rebought, because I sold my Speedmaster, because I had an IWC Chrono. Actually, I sold that Chrono and then I bought this Chrono, but I didn't want to have multiple black-faced aviator chronos in a collection that I don't have the kind of money to have all the watches I want anyway. So my theme is to have as many different interesting styles and movements as reasonably possible, without too much duplication in styles or designs. You know, so for example, if I got another Omega Seamaster like a Chrono, I'd probably sell my Seamaster GMT. Some people have the money to have multiple watches of the same type. For example, I could have had a core collection of just Speedmasters. I had a Speedsonic. I had the actually I still have the Rattrapante, but I'm selling that one to my friend Rob. You know, but I could have kept those and then had 3 different styles of Speedmaster. So there's nothing wrong with having a theme and having a philosophy, because maybe going with the all Speedmaster collection might have been a good way to go with me. But I didn't want that because I wanted to collect other types of watches. So you need to be comfortable with the watches in your collection. You need to want to wear the watches in your collection. If you have a watch that you bought because you like looking at it in the box and thinking, wow, it's cool that I own that watch. If you got a big enough collection and you can afford it, okay, fine. But if you can't and you're staring at a watch that is nice but isn't one you're wearing on your wrist, then you should move it on. So definitely develop a collection philosophy. Try not to have too much overlap in your collection, and save for your watches. Don't buy them on credit. Let's see. Now, his wish list is a Tudor Black Bay 58 in black and gold. Vintage vibe, as he says, and he points out that he's thinking of it as a daily wear, and it is a great daily wear. It's got a lot of, the Black Bays have got a lot of wrist presence. They're very bold watches. Even though they're Submariner-ish look-ish, they have a distinctive enough case design and bezel design and face design that they're their own watch. They have really good. I just sold my Black Bay Heritage, and I really liked that watch. It had a lot of wrist presence, and I'm debating getting a North Flag, but I'm not sure yet. I got to find one at a good price. But the Black Bay 58 in black and gold, you can't go wrong with that. That's a nice piece to go for. The Omega Seamaster Blue midsize in quartz, 36 and a quarter millimeter with the wave dial. Now, The nice thing about the quartz is that I noticed you mentioned here that you were thinking about the price differences and all. That's a noticeable thing, and if you don't mind the quartz, that's an excellent way to get your hands on a nice Seamaster at a price far below what the mechanical version would run for. So yeah, go for it. It's a nice watch. It really is. Prince Harry wears one. I think Princess Diana gave him, and he still wears it to this day. A 36. So there, you know, I'm not a big fan of smaller watches, but if you have smaller wrists or you have nostalgic attachment to the watch, go for it. In your case, I think it's a style thing. Wear the watch that fits your wrist. To wear a watch that's big just because you think people want to see a big watch, again, you're wearing a watch to help other people, which you can't. You have to please yourself. And you have to like the way the watch looks on your wrist. And frankly, a watch that's oversized isn't going to look nice, whereas a properly sized watch will be beautiful. So the Seamaster Blue Midsize Quartz is a really great choice as well. The Laurier Hyperion GMT, the Pepsi color scheme. Now, interesting, on the cusp of becoming a real brand, but it's a micro brand, and it's well spotted that you caught them out. They do make very good watches at great value points, and GMT is a great, excellent complication. I own several GMTs, but then I have, you know, a lot of international interest. But then again, the GMT is a cool complication, even if all you're doing is tracking GMT time or your friend in New York City or something. So yeah, no, the Hyperion, and the Hyperion's a really nice piece. Laurier, they always sell out, so you got to keep your eyes open. You might have to buy it after, you know, gray market, aftermarket, because Laurier is hard to find in stock because they really have a lot of people wanting them. The Bulova Accutron Space View, I own one, and that's one of the watches that I have in the case and I like, but occasionally I pull out and I wear because it's such a cool watch. I got the larger version because I have a larger wrist. I originally had the 34 because that was the only one I could get, and I really love that movement. I actually have a whole episode, a couple of episodes on the Accutron and the Accutron movement. I'll say it's the first clock in space because people keep saying, well, it's not really the first watch in space because nobody was wearing it when it was on the Voyager space, the Voyager satellite in 1957. But it's the exact same movement that wound up in all the other places, in the dashboards of spacecraft and on the wrists of X-15 pilots and astronauts. And one of the Mercury 7 saved his life in the ship when he used his Bulova Accutron astronaut to time his reentry burn. So the Speedmaster is not the only one to have saved an astronaut's life by timing reentry burns, by the way. An Accutron astronaut did it too. So totally, totally, totally. A Space View is a cool, very cool addition to any collection, and it's not a lot of money, and it's a piece that you can keep forever, and it's a great, you know, keepsake. It's a great, beautiful piece of horology history, and it has aesthetics that, you know, have transcended through to its other iterations that have nothing to do with the way that it ran, but still use the same color scheme because its own design language wound up becoming part of the flavor of the company. The logo of the company is a tuning fork. Now, the Tiso PRX Powermatic 80. But he says when it comes out in a smaller diameter. Then go with the Gentleman. The Gentleman fits its size better. It sits more elegantly on the wrist. And you can get the Tiso Gentleman with the Powermatic 80 as well, with a silicon hairspring. So, but the PRX Powermatic 80 is a really nice watch. And I know they're going to come out with variations in a year or two because, you know, they're not going to leave a popular watch stagnant. So they're probably going to come out with it in different faces. You know, they'll probably come out with it with a sunburst with the PRX in mechanical. And I'm holding out for a chrono. I think they're going to do a chrono. I did a survey on the site about it. But I think especially if they're chasing the Royal Oak aesthetic, a PRX chrono would also fill in a lot of that big empty space from that huge face. But yeah, the Powermatic 80 is a good movement as well. Uses a lot of System 51 technology. It's not a System 51 movement. A lot of people keep conflating that, but the Swatch named the watch and the movement System 51 because it was based on the technology. The technology is independent of the watch. Things like laser adjustment of the balance wheel and other machine-oriented, labor-saving technologies are fully evident in the Powermatic 80 and will spread through the rest of the industry. But I think they're going to go with a chrono, and hopefully they'll just take make a variation, a Powermatic variation of an Edachrono and see what happens. But yeah, Powermatic 80 is a good piece. And then the Grail list, it looks like to me, because he has JLC Reverso, the Speedmaster Reduce. I got my youngest daughter a Speedmaster Reduced. It's a really nice watch, and if you don't have big wrists, it is a I mean, it looks awesome. It's a Speedmaster, and don't let the haters hate on you just because it's got a smaller case diameter. Doesn't make it any less of a Speedmaster. It's got a different movement in it, but then again, it's a different size case. The Tudor Black Bay 36, nice piece. Again, a good, clean, all-around wear piece as well. And the Cartier Tank. Okay, well. Then you get into the JLC Reverso versus Cartier Tank argument, which they're completely separate watches, completely separate design aesthetics, different design language up close, but from a distance, they're square watches. So that's something you have to think about there. If I had to choose between the two, I would go with the Reverso. Although I had a Tank and gave that to my youngest daughter for her wedding. My oldest daughter's not a big watch person, so if she's got a Casio data bank calculator watch I gave her, she loves that thing and wears it. But the Cartier Tank is a beautiful, beautiful watch, and the first men's watch design. It was made for Santos Dumont. I'm sorry, the Santos Dumont was the first. The Tank was the second, and it was based on the Renault Tank viewed from above. Interesting how my Freudian, I went off on a complete explanation of the Santos Dumont at first, and I'm staring at it, says Cartier Tank. But as said, those are all great, great pieces. And so he's saying he'd like to have all, the watches he has in his ideal collection, add the Laurier, add the Tudor, add maybe the Tiso, and it would be a good collection. I would say don't close your eyes to some of the opportunity that you could find in something like an ORS, Big Pilot. Take a look at those. Those are nice pieces. Or Mito. They make some nice divers. Or let's see, even something, for example, from Tag. If you were thinking of, say, an Aqua Racer or something along those lines, those are all really nice pieces. And Longines. Longines makes some really, really nice pieces, and some of their latest pieces are also kind of vintage, harkening back reissues, and those are some sharp pieces. So you could think of those too. Don't turn a lot of people turn their nose up at Longines, but Longines makes some really, really nice watches. So he has some questions here. The themes, I think the theme collection is a good idea. Should you sell your current watches that you don't want to keep, even if they won't make a lot of money when these watches? So my recommendation is give them to your friends. I mean, if you're going to sell a watch for $50, give it to a friend. Give it to your sister. The nice thing about a gift, it's worth what you paid for it. It's worth what they could find it at list. Because gifts don't devalue. They're worth the gift's value. You know what I mean? No one's going to go, well, this has been discounted. No. So give them a gift. Say, hey, here's a watch I was wearing. Look at it as sympathetic voodoo magic. You've given them something that you've worn, and it ties you together now. So that's what I would do. If you've got watches that aren't going to really make the money to sell, but you want to get rid of them, give them away. I know that sounds cavalier in some sense, but you never know. You might spark somebody's watch collecting journey. Now, if I were to keep up this wish list, where do you start? I would say, don't just go for the lower cost pieces in the collection first, like the Laurier or the Accutron, just because they're less expensive. The Laurier might turn out to be a bigger pain in the you-know-what to find than a Black Bay. But I would say save up for the one of the heavy hitters first. If you really do want to put a couple of heavy hitter pieces in your collection, save up and put a big heavy hitter piece in the collection, and then that'll give you some inspiration. Number one, it'll give you something really cool to wear when you really want to dress up, or not necessarily dress up, because if it's a Black Bay, but you know what I mean. You want to flex a little bit, but to yourself. You're not just wearing it to impress other people. But you know what I mean. Get a nice piece, something that inspires you first. Save up for it, and then you can get one of the lower price pieces, and get one of the higher price pieces. So I would alternate, and then once your collection reaches a certain critical mass, it will develop its own financing. You'll be able to sell 2 or 3 pieces to buy something you like, or work it so that you can leverage the value of your collection against future purchases. There are ways to, build a collection slow and steady. I mean, it's taken me several years to get my collection to the level it is, and I started with about $10,000 or so worth of watches that I got from selling a car, and now my collection's worth over 50, and it took me about 6 years to get there. But also, I don't need a car, and I work from home, and well, nowadays everybody does, but I mean, for those years I worked from home. So your financial situation is your own financial situation. Everyone's collection journey is their own collection journey. All I'm saying is that strike for value retention. Don't try to make a profit. That's my advice. Strive to grow the value of the collection, increase the value of individual pieces, reduce the number and increase the general value of the collection as you move forward. Those are all good tips that I follow myself. So I have no problems giving them. And so I don't know what to do with the Hamilton. I really like the watch, but would sell it for more funds. But I scratched it and don't think it'd be worth it. I would say polish the scratch. Don't use it. There are some polishing cloths. We'll talk about some of that. There are some things that you can do that'll polish it a little without polishing it too much, or put it on Chrono 24 and say, hey, it's got a scratch. Unless it's an egregious scratch, it's not going to ding the value of the watch that much beyond the fact that it's already a used watch. And I would say get one of those polishing cloths that don't have abrasives in them and try that lightly and see if that works. And if you don't have to make it go away, you just have to make it less noticeable, and then sell it or give it away. I mean, obviously, it may have a little bit more value in it that you want to get some of that value back out. So I would put it on Chrono, say, hey, mild scratches, and do a close-up photograph of the scratch, because a buyer will appreciate it if you show them the scratches, and then they can account for what you've already told them. I'm going to knock 15% off of my asking price because I got a scratch in it, and here's a photo of the scratch. What do you think? So being honest with the buyer is also a great way to move a watch along, because then they appreciate the fact that you're being honest with them. So, no, you're not overthinking it. He says he's worried about overthinking it. And you don't want to be an impulse buyer. You never want to be an impulse buyer with watches. I've been an impulse buyer, and it can be fun, but so can gambling in Vegas, and you lose money both ways. You'll usually be able to get most of the value out of a watch, but you're going to probably lose money if you sell a watch too soon. You can usually get most of the value out of a watch if you wait, if you have the time to wait and sell. But unfortunately, impulse buying usually leads to impulse selling, and then you lose money every time. Even if you're buying something that appreciates quickly, because you could have waited a little bit and it would have appreciated more. So, yeah, take your time. Think of the value of the collection. Don't try to make a profit with the collection, but try to retain value. Try to increase the average value of the pieces in your collection. Try to keep the number down. Don't get into the buying a million affordable watches trap. And have a few affordable watches in your collection, but have a few heavy hitters in there too, and a few pieces in between. That's what a collection's for. So I hope that was really good advice. And if you have advice for Ole, please leave your advice in the comments below. Anything you have about any of the comments I made, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'm always up for corrections and opening of my mind in certain aspects of watch collecting. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care. And don't forget to subscribe.